Hey, welcome. This is Urban Politics. I'm your humble host, Fizz Ed Music. Want to thank you all for liking and subscribing as you do. Please, as soon as this video is over, take your little cell phone over to YouTube, like and subscribe. Fizz Ed Music, Urban Politics, where politics lives. But without further ado, I want to jump right into it like a car and drive because we got all types of tasty and delicious politics to sink our teeth into. First of all, let's talk about some local stuff. Locally, Intel is thinking about bringing a hub here to Columbus, Ohio, right? So Intel plans for a $20 billion chip making hub in Ohio, but it means an affordable housing problem. Where are they going to put all these new workers? That's the problem. Intel's manufacturing operation, bringing thousands of jobs to rural Ohio, was greeted as an economic boon. But behind that is enthusiasm lurks a pressing question. Where are we going to put everybody? Low income housing doesn't exist. I mean, okay, usually when people think of low income housing, they think of what, like Section 8, and they think of the projects. That's not what I'm talking about. Actually, I shouldn't even say low income housing. I should say affordable housing. Those are two different things, right? Low income housing is usually housing that is based on what you make. Ergo, if you don't make anything, it's basically going to be free because that's what you can afford because you don't have an income, right? But affordable housing is just that. We have people in this country who are working 40 hours a week and can't afford, a place to live, and that's commonplace, and that's a problem. So that's what needs to change. So that's what they're talking about when they talk about affordable housing, not low income housing, but affordable housing. A lot of times when people hear low income housing, they get turned off because that's what they think of, right? They think of the PJs, they think of the projects, and they don't want that going up near their house. NIMBY, not in my backyard. So people don't want that around them because it brings their property value down. But that's not even what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about affordable housing, which is something very different. Now, they had talked about building some affordable housing over here. If you're from Columbus, not too far from where I even live, over here on Cleveland Avenue, the old Wonder Bread factory. They said that they're going to take a lot of that and make that some affordable housing, but that's only going to be like maybe 1,100 units. That's not enough. And with this Intel hub coming here, that's definitely not enough. There's going to be all these new workers working at Intel, making good money, but I don't know if they can afford some of these $2,000 and $3,000 units that are going up all over the city. Some that are going up on the outskirts of the city, like at Hilliard and stuff like that. I hear some of those places, two, three, 400,000, not 400, $4,000 a month. That's a lot of money. Now I understand these Intel jobs are going to be really good technical jobs, but are they going to be jobs that maybe a single man or woman, just working a job is going to be able to pay, $1,500, $2,000 a month living by themselves? I don't know if the job at Intel is going to be that good. And then even if it is, where is that house at? Like I said, there's a lot of those units going up around, and they probably could find some. If you can afford to spend that $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a month, I'm sure you'll find somewhere to live. But if you can't, say you're just making a decent wage at this Intel job, it's a good wage, but it probably won't be anything that could sustain you, paying that type of rent. So something has to happen with this, and that's what we need. We need affordable housing. We need it here in Columbus real bad, but we need it all over America. Affordable housing, because like I said, you got people who are working 40-hour, 50-hour, 60-hour work week and can't afford to live in the city, where they work or whatnot, So that doesn't make any sense. There needs to be some kind of cap on rental rates. Landlords won't want to hear that, but that needs to happen. They were even saying the next person who runs for president is probably going to have to say something about that. That's probably going to need to be a piece of their platform. How do we find affordable housing for Americans? Because it doesn't make any sense that you should work a 40-hour or plus week and can't afford to live somewhere, So that is what it is. Watch this space. I'll continue to report on that as it progresses or regresses. Anyway, let's talk about overall just housing in America, right? Now, we had a housing boom. While all of this COVID stuff was going on, people were buying houses like 40 going north. I'd heard stories of realtors saying that, they would put a for sale sign in the yard in the morning. By close of business that night, that it was sold. Sometimes these houses were being sold sight unseen. They said there were lines around the block for people to buy a house. They said there were people clamoring for homes on the internet. They haven't even seen the house, but they wanted it. Some of these houses selling for 2 and 3 times what they were worth. All that going on. Okay, with all that going on, 270,000 home buyers who bought homes in 2022 are underwater in their mortgages. Wow. Um, Among 450,000 underwater borrowers, 60% of these mortgages were originated in the first 9 months of 2022. 40% of homes bought this year have less than 10% of the equity in the home. So that's a whole lot of numbers I just threw at you. But basically, what that means is a lot of people ran out here and they bought homes that they cannot sustain, that they can't afford. You know, I'm thinking of a lot of these people probably got these homes because they got a lot of that stimulus money and there were things going on that weren't permanent things. You know, and they got this influx of cash. They used it to maybe go out here and buy a home. Now all that stuff has went away. And the only way that they have to pay this mortgage is their regular income, and it's not enough. I get it. You know what I'm saying? I get it. And that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? That's the American dream. People want to be homeowners. And when they get a chance, a lot of times they jump at that chance, but that's not the best thing to do because if you're in no position to own a home or pay a mortgage, you don't want to you don't want to have to own a home or pay a mortgage because you can't pay that mortgage, right? So that's what's going on now. And it's sad, you know what I'm saying? But that's usually what happens when we have these housing booms. You know, we have this housing boom. People run out here and for whatever reason they get these homes that they've been wanting for whatever. They try and get that American dream just to find out that that American dream is really the American scream. It's the American nightmare because now you're in the rat race. You know, you got to get a job or get 2 or 3 jobs to try and sustain and pay for this mortgage on this house that's supposed to be your American dream, but it's keeping you up at night because you're wondering how you're going to pay the mortgage. Welcome to America. So that's what's going on. A lot of people ran out here and bought homes they can't afford. So what's going to happen? A lot of those people will probably lose those homes. They'll go into foreclosure, and then the market will cool off again, and then regular people can go out here and buy a house and not have to pay 2 or 3 times what it's worth. Heck, you'll probably pay, a little under what it's worth. Get it for a really good deal because we're going to have a whole lot of homes coming up on the market because there's a whole lot of people who are underwater in their mortgages. And after a while, when you're underwater in a mortgage, after a while, you just say, forget it, and you just leave the house because, you know what I'm saying, if you two, when it comes to a mortgage, if your mortgage is already $2,000, right, and you're 1, 2, 3 months behind, well, you do the math. That's $6,000 in the hole on a mortgage. You're probably at that point just going to say, forget it, I'm done. You know what I'm saying? And that's sad to say, but that's how, because it's so daunting. $6,000. And that doesn't include you eating or paying utilities or any of that. That's just what you owe on this domicile that you're inhabiting. You get to the point where you're just ready to walk away from that because it's just too much. It's just too much. Like, I'm not going to sit here and just, literally spend my life working to pay a mortgage. But that's what people do. That's the rat race. And plenty of us are in it in this country. That is commonplace in America. For people to be out here working 2 and 3 jobs to do what? To save that house, to hold on to that home. And I get it. And you know what I'm saying? It's the biggest investment you'll make. Really, what is your home? The most important investment. But when it's just sucking your life, you don't have a life. Because every minute of your life is spent making money to pay for this dream, this American dream. It no longer is an American dream, right? It's an American scream. It's a nightmare. So a lot of people in that place. Let's hope they can get out of that place. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk some more about politics. Let's talk about Chris Christie, former governor of New Jersey. This guy said Herschel Walker was the creation of Trump, and that Trump has to own the fact that he vastly underperformed in this race against Warnock. Some of that is very true. That's very true. They were saying the only reason that the GOP propped up Herschel Walker was because Trump wanted him. They said that a lot of people in the GOP were poo-pooing Herschel Walker off rip just because he really didn't have any frame of reference when it came to governing or anything like that. But then once all this stuff started coming out about his background, all this abuse to his wife, all this neglect of his kids, all these paying for abortions, all this putting guns to people's heads, all this lying about job stuff, then a lot of them were turned off. But once again, he's propped up by Lord King Trump. So what could they do? They kind of had to fall in line and support this guy who they knew was just not fit for office and just a horrible, horrible candidate. But they did that and they lost, and now they just really are really sour on Trump. Now that's what's sad. Herschel Walker is a pathetic candidate, period. But if he had won, they'd be all in behind him, right? They'd be in lockstep behind sending this guy to Washington, with the cognitive capabilities that he does not have. They were okay with him being a senator, as long as he won, but he didn't win. So now, now the light has been shed, and now we can see that, we need to stop following Trump because he backs losers. Yes, he is a loser who backs losers. He always has been. He won some Republican contests and competitions, so y'all fell in line behind him because y'all didn't think y'all was ever going to win again. Here's a guy who was winning, but then he says all this stuff, you'll get so tired of winning. Now they're tired of losing, and that's all they've done with Trump, right? And so now Chris Christie, of course, he come out against Trump. Actually makes him relevant, doesn't it? Now here's a reason for him to be in the news because he's saying something bad about Trump. When we must remember, here's a guy, this is the same guy who lost to Trump, then endorsed him and worked for him on his transition team when he won president. And then, as of late, he's been critical, like I said, because it gets him in the news, gets him some sound bites. You know what I'm saying? Chris Christie basically said Walker simply wasn't a good candidate. He said bad candidates lose, good candidates win. Guess what? In an ideal world. But this world is not always ideal. Sometimes good candidates lose, bad candidates win. Tim Ryan, J.D. Vance. Come on, man. There's a competition right there where I don't think the best man won. But for whatever reason, Ohioans saw fit to send J.D. Vance to the Senate. Jesus, over Tim Ryan. That is what it is. So that last line there that Chris Christie said, bad candidates lose, good candidates win. Not all the time, but that's how it's supposed to be, right? And you're definitely not supposed to prop up candidates in bad faith. And now that I sit here and think about it, that's exactly what Trump did. Because at the end of the day, Trump knew Herschel Walker was raggedy. He was raggedy, right? But Trump likes to dismantle the system. He likes to show that the system doesn't work, that it needs to be blown up, that we should rip up the Constitution and reinstate him as president, even though he did a garbage job and didn't get anything done. So he's on that. So he's all about blowing up this horrible system. So the likes of a Herschel Walker getting sent to the Senate was something that he found delight in because he's like, here goes a chance for me to show everybody how that system is garbage and how it doesn't work and how here's a way that we can blow it up, and dismantle it or whatnot. But that didn't happen here. So yeah, he propped up Herschel Walker in bad faith. After all this, I really feel bad for Herschel Walker. Because what is he doing today? Now, he'll get some work on Fox News. I don't think he'll be like a contributor or a pundit because the man can't hold a thought together or speak articulately about anything, even his craziness. But I feel bad because, basically, he was just a receptacle for the GOP, right? He was just a prop. They used him. He didn't work. So now they throw him to the wayside. We might see him on Fox and Friends, doing an interview here and there, maybe going somewhere speaking on the GOP's behalf. I'm sure they still bill him as this great black conservative, which he's not. Black conservatives should take issue and should also be just straight up pissed off at the fact that Lindsey Graham would think that the likes of a Herschel Walker was going to start this big black conservative movement. No. If you're a black conservative, you should be like, number one, do you have such little respect for me as to think that this buffoon and this Nimrod speaks to me or my people who are black conservatives? So all those black conservatives out there, I'm wondering where you at. I ain't seen one of you step up and say something, but if I were you, I'd be straight up pissed. Why would you think this guy, just because his skin is as dark as mine, why would you think that he represents my thoughts? Because he's obviously not a conservative. I don't even know if the guy's really a Republican. Dude running around wanting to be a vampire, right? Or what did he say? Wolves can beat vampires, so now he didn't want to be a vampire no more. He want to be a wolf. Come on, man. Wow. Here's what's crazy, though. I was sitting here, and I got some time. Let me go into this. Because this is not even in my notes, but it's going to my head right now. I was thinking about some of those crazy off-the-wall comments that he was making, right? He talked about how he was watching the movie Fright Night or Night Fright. He was talking about the movie Fright Night. I know, because that's one of my favorite movies. I like Fright Night. And that was a movie about these kids who were vampires. And sure enough, these other kids did hire a quote-unquote fake vampire to come and get rid of these vampires, and he laughed in their face and all that. And he was trying, here's what, I'm explaining the unexplainable, but I think here I am going down the rabbit hole that is Herschel Walker's mind. But I think what he was trying to say, and he even said a little bit in his speech, he was talking about how, the guy who came with all the tricks and all that, he wasn't a real dude, he had a nice suit on, kind of looked like Reverend Warnock, didn't he? He said that, right? So he was likening that guy unto Raphael Warnock, trying to say that this guy wears nice suits and talks nice, but he isn't the real deal, and he won't be able to get rid of the quote unquote badness or whatever that's in Washington. Yeah, yeah, I think that's where he was going with all that, but he's not even articulate enough to accurately express that buffoonery. So that is what it is. It just came out like just a weird sporadic story about vampires and wolves. But he was talking about the movie Fright Night, and that's a scene in the movie where they get a quote unquote fake vampire to get rid of some real vampires, and it didn't work, you know. But he didn't explain it right, and he's an idiot, so it didn't come out right, right? But and really, the comparison is no, it's stupid. It's a stupid comparison, but that's what he got out of it. So that's what he was trying to convey right there, but just couldn't get that message across. That is what it is. Anyway, moving on. Last thing I'll talk about before I get out of here is talk about how they codified same-sex and interracial marriage. Yes, they did. Same-sex marriage protection. 39 House Republicans supported a bill providing federal protections for same-sex and interracial marriage. 7 House Republicans voted yes on the legislation in July, but opposed it recently. One GOP member said it involved a painful exercise in accepting admonishment and fairly brutal self-soul searching. She also added Americans address each other in more crude and cruel terms than ever in my lifetime. The right to marry whoever you love regardless of the color of their skin or orientation shouldn't be controversial. Our nation was built on the notion of individual liberty. Yes, indeed. That's what blows me away. That they even had to codify in same-sex marriage and interracial marriage. Well, same-sex marriage, I guess I get, because that's always been a hot one. And then I've seen friends of mine who are married who are also like, also they're gonna represent, you know, they're gonna view a same-sex marriage the same as they view my heterosexual marriage. I don't know if they should have all the rights and all the such that my heterosexual marriage has. And I'm just like, marriage is marriage. It's two people being together in a bond of what they call love and matrimony or whatever. What's the difference? Whether it's two guys, two gals, or a guy and a gal, what's the difference? Marriage is marriage to me. That's what I say. I say this is a man not being married. But my point being is, when you look at marriage, it's just the sharing of assets and stuff like that. Why do we care if that goes down between a man and a woman or two men and two women? But that's going to be a debate here in America for a long time. Not a debate anymore, right? Well, it's the law of the land. They've codified it. It's interesting to me how they had to put it all together. So they had to codify same-sex and interracial marriage. Why are those two things together? I don't understand really how they have anything to do with each other. You know, interracial marriage is just a quote-unquote normal marriage, right? You got a black man and a white woman, or a white woman and a black man, they get married. They're still a man and a woman getting married, right? What's off there? There's nothing off there at all, right? That's the scientific way it works. Why do we care about the color of their skin? You know, welcome to America. So, people have been saying that too. You know, as I get on, let me talk about what Ms. Pelosi said about it. She said the legislation would codify a legal reality already handed down by the Supreme Court. There it is. So I really was like, this ain't on the books, and why is it not on the books, and why is it not just a given that, you know, first of all, they're the same species, right? We're all human beings, you know? So if we got two people who are of the same species wanting to marry, why is that a problem at all? Because one happens to be black, one happens to be white, one happens to be Spanish, one happens to be, you know what I'm saying, Asian. What would, you know what I mean? But welcome to America, because I don't even understand how that's a question. That's what Ms. Pelosi was even saying. This is something that's been handed down by the Supreme Court years ago, but here we are going through it, codifying it, making sure that it doesn't come up again. And on a whim, somebody just gets rid of it, you know, saying like they tried to do Roe versus Wade or whatnot, you know. But now we know that there's people laying in the cut who really want to do away with some of this stuff, who really want to make it illegal for people of different races to marry. That is ridiculous. That is just so ridiculous, when it's like, who cares about the you know, a person's race, you know what I'm saying, or their religious or anything like that. This is a person. This is a human being. And if they have love and honor and respect for another human being, they should be able to connect with that human being, and that shouldn't be illegal. The fact that it is crazy, right? So, yeah, you know what I'm saying? There's that. But, you know, they've codified it, and what that means is it's the law of the land for now. But that is the good or bad thing about the law, right? We can always revisit it, like they did revisit Roe versus Wade, or act like they wanted to. Then you got to go back and make sure you strengthen that legislation. So the fight never stops. This is a good thing that they passed this legislation, and like she said, you know what I'm saying, it codifies a legal reality already handed down by the Supreme Court, but at the same time, it's a reality that you will continue to have to fight for, because there are always those on the other side who will seek to get rid of this, and it ain't nothing but words on paper, right? It's the law of the land, but it's words on paper, and those words can be changed. You know what I'm saying? These things can be amended, all of that stuff. Now on the other side of that, because of course Miss Pelosi, she was crying about it, and when she banged the gavel, she was all emotional about it, and she supports it. On the other side, one GOP member, Hartzler, I think this was a lady, she said, "I hope and pray that my colleagues will find the courage to join me in opposing this misguided and dangerous bill." Whoa, misguided and dangerous. What is misguided and dangerous about respecting and protecting same-sex marriage and interracial marriage? I don't understand what's misguided and dangerous about that. So she'll have to explain that to me. And if you on that, you know what I'm saying, if you sit on the right and you're of that belief, please, you in the pushback zone, push back on your boy and explain that to me. Because I just can't, I wrap my mind with that. I can't wrap my mind around that. What is dangerous or misguided about protecting the right of two people, regardless of their skin color or their sexual orientation, being able to be together in holy matrimony? Yeah, make it make sense, ladies and gentlemen. So whoever is on that or of that belief, please leave something in the comment section and make it make sense, because I can't understand what's dangerous or misguided about that. That sounds very guided to me, and the opposite of dangerous. So whatever. Another one added, they said, "I was here for the birth of the Defense of Marriage Act, and I'm here for the funeral." Wow, way dramatic, huh? I was here for the birth of the Defense of Marriage Act, now I'm here for the funeral. Why does this not defend heterosexual marriages? Why is it an affront to heterosexual marriages? Once again, you're in the pushback zone. If you understand this, make it make sense to me, ladies and gentlemen. I don't understand that. I've never understood that. And I've even had friends, of course, who are in, heterosexual unions, married, say that to me. You know what I'm saying? That it's a threat to marriage. I don't understand how it's a threat to quote unquote heterosexual marriage. How? I don't get it. I don't get it. But, this person is of that. And then talking about, I'm here for the funeral. Defense of marriage. Why do you need to defend the marriage? What is there to defend about marriage? Marriage has been going on forever. Marriage back in the day was more of a business deal, more of a way to families to combine assets, right, and build wealth among each other and their kids and stuff like that. I guess there's a love component. There's a love component in there. So point being though, why is that threatened? By, the government saying that we also honor and respect their same-sex union or their interracial union the way that we honor and respect your heterosexual union between you and a person of your same color or whatever, or two Europeans or two people who are Caucasian or whatnot. How is that an affront to that? I don't get it. Make it make sense. So that is what it is, but I guess you're going to have people on that side of that issue, on both sides of that issue. There are some people who support same-sex marriage, support marriage between interracial couples, and then you have people who just do not. And this is America. You are allowed to be on whatever side of that issue that you want to be on. But it does blow me away how that was even a thing, because you would think that one, I would think it'd be a given, you know what I'm saying, that interracial marriage is good, because it's still, there's nothing really there that people could quote unquote would say is, odd or against science or anything like that, because it's two people of the same species. But this being America, and everything comes down to race. So that's what it's about. We want these races mixing, the mixing of the races. The ship has sailed on that. Man, I look around here in America, this is multicultural America. That's all the races do around here is mix. So get out of here, GOP, Anyway, that is my time, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your humble host, Fizz and Music. This is Urban Politics. I want to thank you all for liking and subscribing. As soon as you have a chance, please, after this video, take your little cell phone over to YouTube, like and subscribe. Fizz and Music, Urban Politics, and as always, ladies and gentlemen, see you around like a donut.